Welcome. It's the Minnesota Vikings schedule release show. Meatsauce Paul Lambert is here. I'm Nordo from 9 to noon. Thank you so much for tuning in, not only to the Minnesota Vikings flagship 100.3 FM The Fan, but also on all streaming channels as well, live and in HD. How you doing, Saucy?
Dude, I'm doing great. This is like the best time of the year. I love this stuff. All of it is going to be great, man. Having the schedule out is just one of those things that, like you and I've talked about before, where the NFL draft is awesome, right? It's the best bit in April of the Masters, but it's so fun because you're like, all right, football season's kind of back. And then all of a sudden you get the schedule. You can start planning trips with buddies. You can start planning your bye week trip. You can start planning the power trip to Vegas, which we'll get to in a minute. But all these things can come together, and it makes it feel like football season is that much closer, which makes it even better.
Hold on. The power trip's going to Vegas?
Yeah.
When's that happening?
We'll get to it.
We'll get to that. Absolutely.
Yeah, we will.
Now, everybody listening or watching via the stream, I know that none of you actually looked at social media throughout the day, so none of you have paid attention to any of the leaks. So all of this information probably is going to be something you're hearing or viewing for the very first time. Do you just want to jump into the schedule and then react as we ride through this thing?
Let's get into it. Why don't you play that funky bass behind you and let's get into it.
Well, I turn the lights down and just slap it, as PA would say, 9 to noon. But we're not saying that here. This is a family show. The preseason games are laying out like this, Saucy. We are at Seattle, so 2 out of 3 at US Bank Stadium. Week 1 of the preseason is going to be at the Seahawks. Then you get a couple. I wonder if maybe we'll have joint practices with any of these teams, since we have 2 in a row. Week 2 will be the Tennessee Titans in town, and then the Arizona Cardinals. So that wraps up the exhibition portion of things. Get the roster down to 53, and then party on. Week 1, Saucy, the Baker Mayfield-led Buccaneers at US Bank Stadium on September 10th. That's got to be a Week 1 W, I hope.
Which is great. Obviously, I like the noon game on the Week 1 of the season, September 10th. I love that. You know, it would be fun at some point if our Vikings could open up, you know, let's say on Thursday and be the home team and be getting rings and be getting all that stuff. But we got to wait another year for that. But opening against Tampa is awesome. I think it's kind of Tampa. I think it's going to be they're going to have a top 5 pick next year. I think Tampa is bad. I also think that, they're a shell of the team they once were. And if your quarterback options are Kyle Trask or Baker Mayfield, I think you're in big trouble. I see that as a W. But I love the noon kickoff.
Yeah, their defense is still kind of ready-made to compete, but and even with all those stars, you're going to struggle to score points. Rashad White in the backfield, they like him, but the Mayfield factor, I like an opening weekend victory there. But Week 2, same as last year, only different night for the bright lights. Week 2 is a Thursday game, so you get the Thursday night thing out of the way early on. Week 2 at Lincoln Financial, and the team that, albeit lost a Super Bowl, but a year ago looked pretty damn good with Jalen Hurts and the Philly Eagles.
See, the other thing, here's what I like about, from a Rube standpoint, what I like about the Thursday games is it means when we get all weekend, it'll be the third weekend of college football, which will be great that Saturday, and then we get the whole slate of games on our big screen TVs at home on Sunday. But going to Lincoln 2 years in a row, second week of the season, is going to be a very tough game. That place it's just a minefield for how tough it is to play. We got embarrassed there last year against the NFC champs and all that. That was a very tough game and a very tough place to play. And it's going to be even more tough when it's Thursday night, 7:15 prime time. All the lights on, people will be pumped.
Yeah, it was, I think, 3 picks from Kirk. We had uncovered wide receivers all over. I mean, Week 2 was really kind of that point, I think, last season early on, where suddenly it's like, are we ever going to defend the middle of the field? And over the course of the 2022 season, I guess we found out the answer was no. So we get the NFC champs out of the way. That's also the first of 4, kind of talking about when the schedule was, how it was going to frame up. All 4 of the teams in the conference title games are on the Vikings schedule this year. The Eagles, obviously, the first one. Now, that's September 14th. That's a Thursday night game. Week 3, then, you get a 10-day chill, and it's a Sunday noon game against the LA Chargers. Herbert and whoever, I guess, Eckler, yes. Eckler, no.
Quentin
but
Johnston, the wide receiver they took right before we took our guy.
Right from TCU. Defense isn't bad. Defense wasn't bad except when they allowed Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars to put up like 30 points on them in the second half in that playoff game. But week 3, Herbert at US Bank Stadium. That's pretty cool.
This is all I'll say about this game. Great opportunity, Nordo, to bet the over. Bet the over in that game.
I like that. And I like back-to-back noon games. So September 24th, week 3, hosting the Chargers. And then it's a reunion with Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen, now wide receiver for the Carolina Panthers. He's going to be catching passes from Bryce Young. So we may get a chance to see the first overall pick, depending upon how quickly they want to implement the Alabama kid into the mix. But week 4 at Charlotte and the Carolina Panthers, who are very much, I think, again, similar to how we were talking, or I was talking about the Bucs, that defense can cause you some problems, but offensively still trying to figure out what they have with Terrace Marshall. I think Laviska Shenault's in the mix there, and Adam Thielen as well.
The Adam Thielen angle will be great. We'll talk about that all week to even give you a 7-month tease. We'll most likely have him on the power trip, which will be great. I mean, it's not 7 months, it's 4 months, but 7 months sounds better. But 4 months from now, we'll probably have Adam Thielen on during that week. It'll be a great week. And the Panthers, let's just say it, the Panthers are not good. These first 4 games, this team should be 3-1. They just should. They should be favorites against the Chargers at home. They'll be, I think, heavy favorites against Tampa at home. They'll be dogs against Philly, and I think they'll be road favorites against Carolina week 4.
Yeah, and once we start talking about our division rivals, how the Kitties are going to fit into this and all of that, and from a Vegas perspective, the Lions favored to win the division, that's kind of what we try to do. We try to start doing the math in terms of where this team needs to be at certain parts of the season record-wise. And if you can get through that 3-1, you're feeling good. And you're especially feeling well at 3-1 because week 5, so you're back at US Bank Stadium October 8th. You're hosting the Super Bowl champs, Kansas City Chiefs in town, Mahomes, Kelsey, and that mix coming to our spot for a 3:25 game. That's going to be a difficult task.
Yeah, it'll be a difficult task, Nordo, and it'll be a big crowd, man, even though they all are, but you know what I mean. That'll be an amped crowd to see the Super Bowl champs, to see Patrick Mahomes, to see Travis Kelsey, just to see those two quarterbacks go at it, especially, obviously, Patrick Mahomes, indoors on a dry surface, early October. It'll be a beautiful day out. That game, week 5 against Kansas City, will be incredible.
Yeah, and for me, selfishly, so you had Alex Smith leading the Chiefs when they were here in 2015.
Oh, yeah.
And then the 2019 game, not that I wasn't in Kansas City as it was, but I think Matt Moore played that game and we still lost the freaking game. Was it Damian Williams maybe went for like 91 on us or something? But then this will be the first time I get to see Patrick Mahomes in person. So I'm really excited about that. So that's week 5, hosting the Chiefs. And then our first division game of the season, it's a nooner at Soldier Field, the Chicago Bears, on October 15th. And it's Justin Fields, it's DJ Moore. We kind of get to see what that new general manager, Ryan Poles, is trying to build there. They got that high-end right tackle. I think Darnell Wright was their first-round pick.
Yeah, the right tackle from Tennessee, yeah.
A team, Tyreek Stevenson, a highly touted Miami corner as well. So this is a team certainly trying to rebuild themselves. But as we saw, we had trouble with Fields last year. Despite getting to that early lead at US Bank Stadium, Fields comes storming back in the second half. Certainly not a pushover Bears team, but excited to see what this group looks like week 6.
Yeah, it's kind of a pushover Bears team. They got a lot of young talent. Their offensive line is bad. I know, as you just said, they added the right tackle, but they could have taken any offensive lineman in the draft. They probably should have taken 2 or 3 of them. And they were a team that, was picking number 1 overall. They're not good. But it's Soldier Field. It's always tricky. I think the thing you and I always say when we talk about the Bears against the Vikings in Soldier Field, I think your guy PA and Chris Hockey have seen maybe 2 or 3 wins. That's it. It's a tough place to play, even if they are, and most likely going to be picking in the top 10 again in the NFL draft in 2024. The Bears are a bad team, but Soldier Field is a tough place to play.
It has been. Vikings have been fortunate in those confines of late, but you're right. It's stupid things happen there.
Yes,
but they don't. But they don't have. They don't have some of that. They don't have the why am I Khalil Macks of the world right now?
No,
Like they are in
they're
very
banged
much
up.
such a rebuilding operation. Let's whoop that ass at Soldier Field week 6. Week 7, another primetime game. Lots of primetime opportunities for the Purple this year. And this is going to be week 7. It's a Monday night affair against Brock Purdy, Mr. Shanahan, and that Niners defense at US Bank Stadium.
Monday night is always great. It's their first Monday night game of the year, week 7. Not the halfway point that it used to be, but still a great time. I don't know. Like, Brock Purdy is fine, but like he literally is just the point guard that gets the ball to all the playmakers. Like, they have a ton of offensive weapons. We'll see. And who knows if he'll even be ready by then. I mean, we've heard mixed reports about how that elbow injury of his that he got in the NFC Championship game is a lot worse than people think. So it could be Trey Lance, but that defense is going to show up, and those playmakers on offense are going to show up. It's going to be a wonderful Monday night game.
Yeah, and I think they have Sam Darnold too. They signed him on a real cheap deal. So whoever it is, you're right. And this will be and we will have already gotten, whether it's Philly, you can look at the Chiefs most obviously in this mix as well. But with San Fran, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Ayuk, how the hell is Brian Flores' defense? What's that going to look like?
Right,
and how are they going to defend some of these guys? From Monday night, we go to week 8, and it's Jordan Love and the Packers. So we got to wait a while, but it's a nooner, October 29th. We'll be facing the Packers at Lambeau Field. Jordan Love and see how that new look Packers offense sans a Hall of Fame quarterback's going to look.
Well, it's the first time they haven't had a Hall of Fame quarterback start most of their games in 30+ years. I mean, Rodgers was there forever. Favre was there forever. It'll be interesting to see where this team is 8 weeks into the season. Like, are they already moving on? Are they 2-5 or 2-6 at that point? I don't know when their bye is, but are they a team that is already looking to the future? Are they a team that, committed to him, but maybe it isn't working? But with the track record of the Packers, it will be working, and they'll be like 7-1 at that point, and he will be just barn-burning teams up and down the field, and we might just get in their wake. It'll be a weird spot at my house because of my wife, but it'll be a fun game to watch on that last weekend in October.
Yeah, I look at it, and we've talked about it 9 to noon a couple of times. By the way, Minnesota Vikings schedule release show. Thanks for tuning in, whether it's YouTube, it's Twitter, wherever you are accessing this via social media mediums, but then also right here on the Fan, 100.3 FM, home for Minnesota Vikings football. The idea that the players feel the idea that Rodgers is gone and that the national conversation would be such that this team is a disaster without 12.
Yes.
That, know what, now that Aaron's gone, we're just a bunch of sleds being pulled around. There will be, I think, some sort of spark. Now, can they carry that through the course of a season? And once we get to the Lions, we can kind of speak about what a talent-deficient roster looks like in comparison to what they were able to get out of that team a year ago, and now still adding talent in Detroit. It'll be interesting to see what the Packers do. So that's week 8. Week 9, we get to see Bijan Robinson and the Atlanta Falcons and Kyle Pitts, unless he's injured, and see how that offense looks. Cordero Patterson, maybe a reunion with CP84. So that's what we're looking at week 9. It's a nooner in Atlanta, Sunday, November 5th.
Well, this is also a game where either Charch will be 100% right or will be 100% wrong. When all offseason he touts Bijan Robinson as the number 1 overall pick, he'll either be 100% right, like he sometimes is, or he'll be wrong. But that should be a win. That's a bad team. Let's beat
Atlanta.
That's one of the worst teams in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm interested in the long term how sold they are on Desmond Ridder as well. Like you're seeing in Tennessee right now, they're pondering the idea of maybe releasing Malik Willis, and maybe a 3rd round pick's a lot to. It feels like that's a high pick to be giving up on after just one season. But Desmond Ridder, similarly, they are saying all the right things that they're going to surround him, and whether it's Pitts, it's Drake London. Now Bijan, if you have an elite running game, certainly that would help a quarterback as he develops. But that's still a team in rebuild as well. So let's get the W there. And we go to week 10. So after we beat up on Atlanta, we stick with the NFC South, and now we're hosting Derek Carr and the New Orleans Saints. So that's going to be a fun. It's a nooner. It's no Sean Payton. It's none of maybe some of the vitriol that we've had in the past. Maybe Michael Thomas can finally get on the field for the first time in like 2.5 years. But the Saints are going to be at US Bank Stadium. You know what? Let's beat up on them too and have a winning streak under our belt.
Correct. And then the following week, that's when we see Sean Payton.
Correct. Yes, absolutely.
It's weird how the way that works out. Saints week 10 or week 11, or excuse me. This is
Saints
why you're
week
doing
10.
it. This is why you're doing it. Broncos week 11 in Denver, which will be sweet. That's a Sunday night football game. That'll be incredible.
Yeah, and as we'll talk as we sum this thing up here, November 19th at Denver in the Mile High, this will kind of be the last, maybe the last, most likely the last cold-ish game that the Vikings will have to endure.
How about that?
The season.
Well, there's one that is going to be tough.
Maybe in Southern Ohio.
Yes,
correct.
You are correct, sir. Yep.
And we're going to get to that. So week 11, after we beat the Saints, we're at Denver. It's Sunday Night Football. That's the third primetime game. Let's beat up on Russell Wilson and Sean Payton and those fish lips. And then we move to week 12, Monday Night Football, our fourth primetime game of the season, week 12.
Back-to-back.
Hosting the Bears.
Back-to-back primetime games. How about that?
Back-to-back primetime games. We are hosting the Bears, regardless of what that graphic says. If anyone cares, that's my 39th birthday, November 27th. You can start getting me presents now.
You and Scene Bear.
Yeah, me, Scene Bear, and Jimi Hendrix.
Maybe Scene Bear will send you a nice picture on your birthday.
You know,
he likes taking pictures of the Lowry Tunnel. Maybe he'll send you one.
He certainly does. And the echoes.
Yes, correct.
So November 27th, this is into the bye, by the way. But
how about that?
Fourth primetime game, back-to-back primetimers here. Beat Denver, hopefully. Then you host the Bears Monday Night Football right after Thanksgiving weekend. And then week 13, we chill. It's kind of a late bye week. I can't remember the last time that we had such a late bye week in a season, Saucy.
Well, and what's the thing we heard last year, Nordo, that the Packers week, when they were all falling apart, everybody was like, they don't get a break till, I think, week 14 is the latest bye week, and we miss it by 1 week. But, Nordo, there's one team we haven't heard you bring up, and there's a lot of people wondering when that game is, and I hope you have some news for us.
Well, we're kind of running out of games here. We've already had 12, so we only have 5 games left, and we got to play that particular team twice. So it feels like it might be shoehorned into the back end of this schedule. So week 13, we're on a bye. Week 14, this is the answer for the Power Trip Morning Show.
Yeah, let's go.
You guys don't care about anything other than the next time you're going to Vegas, and you know that I love you guys, and you know that I'm super jealous.
Well, I hope you go.
But week 14 is against the Raiders, Jimmy G and that group, Devontae Adams. Let's put Byron Murphy or maybe Mekhi Blackman or a Caleb Evans can handle business by then. It's a 3:05 game at the Las Vegas Raiders. That's going to be awesome.
That'll be incredible, man. I can't wait for that. Everything aside, obviously the Power Trip's going. You can learn more if you want to get your tickets for that, and you have an opportunity to get tickets. Get your own tickets, but all the information about the Power Trip show will be, I think, it'll be probably in the next week. We'll have all your information, but I can't wait for that stadium, man. Everybody raves about how cool that is, and I think our guy Hawk and your guy PA were there last year for a preseason game, right?
That is right, yeah.
And I've heard it's just that the stadium in Las Vegas is spectacular.
They have a nightclub in behind one of the end zones.
I can't wait.
I mean, it's Las Vegas, so just imagine Las Vegas inside a stadium, and that's what we're going to be seeing at Allegiant. So that's week 14. Let's beat the Raiders, and then this is where week 15, mentioning a tough game. This is in Southern Ohio, Cincinnati Vikings at the Bengals. The specific day, so whether that becomes a primetime or a Monday night game, to be determined in that circumstance. But this would be the fourth and final of the conference participants, conference title participants from a year ago that we got to face, and it's going to be Burrow and that high flying offense. And this is kind of the time of year where you're thinking, Cincy, let's just, put Vegas odds and just assume a quality team. They're going to be vying for potential conference supremacy
or the
at this stage of the
or
season.
the first seed, right? Like that's how good that team is. That will most likely be moved to a primetime game, I would guess. And if that is moved to a primetime game, that would give us 6 primetime games, Nordo.
Yeah, it's incredible. And the following week now, back in the division, and we finally see them on our schedule.
Think about that.
I know it's
so weird.
Two of the final 3 games, starting with week 16, are against the Detroit Lions. The first one, week 16, at US Bank Stadium. It's a Christmas Eve affair, and it's a nooner on Christmas Eve. Finding out at this stage of the season, we will have already seen exactly what this incarnation of the Lions team is going to look like and whether they can live up to all the hype.
Yep, and then, as you said, the final game of the year is obviously at the Lions again, but like it's so weird that we don't see that team until week 16, and then we play them 2 out of the last 3 games of the season. That's a weird flip to the schedule, but that team is a team that a lot of people think. I mean, as we said, it's all over the internet, and we said it on the Power Trip. The Detroit Lions open the season Thursday, September 7th, against the Kansas City Chiefs. The NFL thinks so highly of the Lions that they are going to play them week 1, primetime Thursday night opener of the season against the Chiefs.
So how do they handle no longer being that bad team?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a great question.
With rah-rah speeches and emotion, and I'm not downgrading Dan Campbell's ability to coach or even the way that he works with those players. Clearly, everyone loves playing for him. But now how do they handle being a team that others are truly sharing limelight with? Can they handle that prosperity? That's a big question. So you get them week 16, the nooner at home. Then it's Sunday Night Football. It's New Year's Eve. So ringing in the new year, 2024. Prior to that, hopefully celebrating a Vikings victory at US Bank Stadium, beating the Packers. And so that border battle is going to be week 17.
That will be a wild atmosphere. Nobody's working the next day. People are drinking all day. It's going to be a wild atmosphere.
Well, for some reason, Abbott's going to need us to come in the next day for some reason. You know how that kind of stuff works out. So don't get too crazy. Week 18 is
New Year's Day. Who works New Year's Day?
As you mentioned, week 18 is at Detroit, and that wraps up the regular season schedule. That's how things shape out, and couldn't be more pumped about it.
No.
As part of finally getting to see what this thing looks like. About a minute or so to go, Saucy. I mean, I will just kind of, no frozen games. Love that.
Yeah.
You do get Detroit 2 of the final 3. Feels like the NFC North could be up for grabs with one or both of those games mattering a lot. I look at this schedule doesn't have a lot of weird swings where it's, wow, we got 3 road games in a row, or conversely, we have 3 home games in a row type of thing. I think it's a very balanced schedule, not really a gauntlet in the mix of super 4 or 5 game death marches of sorts from a competitive standpoint. I kind of like how this thing's shaped up.
Well, at Green Bay, at Atlanta, New Orleans here, at Denver, Chicago, and then at the Raiders should be wins. Those should be 6 straight wins. Those are all bad football teams.
Absolutely. Hey, thanks for hanging out with me.
Yeah! Dude, it's the best, man. The schedule release is the best. You know what else is sweet is following us, the Westwood One schedule release show follows us after this. They're going to break down every team and every schedule. Dude, the football season's almost here, man. Training camp is 2.5 months away. It's way closer than you think, Nordo.
No, it is. And thank you for spending time with me, Saucy. Thanks to those of you watching this on the various social media channels, the Minnesota Vikings schedule release show. As you heard with Saucy, the conversation continues courtesy of Westwood One right here on the Fan as well, 100.3 FM. Analysis via the Power Trip, 9 to noon, into the Grum, bumper to bumper. We got it all covered for you on a Friday tomorrow. Thank you so much for listening to the Fan. For Saucy, I'm Nordo.